Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today we have another set review of a 2026 set. Today it is going to be set 75441, the Venator-Class attack cruiser, probably better known as the MIDI Scale Venator for most of you. It is going to be 643 pieces and retails for $79.99. Now, that's going to be a point I make probably a few more times throughout this video, but we'll just take a look at the box here for now. Your typical black box art for 18 plus sets. You have the Venator on the front there, and then on the back, another angle of it, as well as some art from the intro of episode 3, or should I say a screenshot of the intro to episode 3, and then the measurements of the set. So let's get right into the main part of the review. So, getting into the actual set here, we have the Venator here. Now, it's a MIDI scale set, so there's not going to be a whole lot to look at with this. No play features or anything, obviously. However, just giving a quick look at the whole model here. It is a fairly decent size, but once I'm done talking about this set itself, I'm going to show you guys some other sets in a similar price range for this, and it's going to feel a lot worse for the size you get here. Now, don't get me wrong, this thing looks absolutely amazing. Here's the view from the engines in the back. And I'll be honest, I really like the build. I think it is about as perfect as you can get for this scale. It looks absolutely amazing. Now, getting into the more specific parts of the build here, everything you see, obviously the plaque here, these two circle pieces here, the striped pieces back here, and on the underside you have a few more of those striped pieces, and there's the rest of the front of it from the underside is all printed. And you can also take it off the stand here, just connected by a few Technic pins, which actually came off with the ship there, but there's a better view of the underside of the ship. So all those parts are printed. This set does not have a sticker sheet, which I think is absolutely amazing. Should have been that way with the UCS one, but I'll be honest, that's where a lot of the positives with this set end, is pretty much just the looks of it and the printed pieces. I think it looks great, but a big issue with it is the pricing. But before we get into the pricing, there are a couple Easter eggs with this set, which if you take off this front cover here, there's one you can still see. Once you have the model completed, there's a red tile there and a yellow tile there. Those are intended to be Obi-Wan and Anakin's interceptors. And then if we take a look at the instructions here on page 27, this is in the first bag, I believe, you have these white and gray studs here, which it says an Imperial officer. I remember hearing, I believe it was in a Solid Bricks review for this set, that was supposed to be fixed to be a Republic officer once the set released, but looks like LEGO did not feel the need to fix that. I don't think it's super important. I just think it's kind of really easy thing to not mess up, and they still did it. So it says an Imperial officer briefs a clone trooper on an upcoming mission. At least they got the clone trooper part right, but like I said, I don't think that's a huge deal. I just think it's kind of funny, but yeah. That one does get completely covered up, and you can't really access it without taking the rest of the set apart. Now back to the actual build itself. You do have these little pieces sticking out here. I believe these are supposed to be turrets, as well as these are obviously turrets there. You do have the gray bridge as opposed to the red one on the UCS set, which again, a lot of these things about this set I really like. I really like the way this thing looks. I think it's one of the better MIDI scale sets they've ever done, to be honest with you, just purely based on the looks of it. But I'm going to show you guys a few other sets in this similar price range just to show you how little this thing feels. Here we have the MIDI Scale Millennium Falcon here next to the Venator. Now, this thing, it just feels so much bigger than the Venator. This set, it just completely dwarfs this thing in my eyes. Like, you look at these things on top of each other, like this thing takes up the entire screen, this thing takes up like half the screen. It is a little hard for me to show on video with the amount of space I have available to me at the moment to record this, but it just feels so much smaller compared to this thing. Like, it's a similar length. Like, I'd say the Venator is maybe an inch longer, but this thing is like twice as wide and doesn't have the little indents and all that. Like, this thing just dwarfs this thing. Now, again, I really like the way the Venator looks, but it just feels so much smaller compared to another MIDI scale set that is still currently available at the exact same price. Realistically, this is probably cheaper because you can almost certainly get this on sale. I think it's like $68 at Target currently, pretty regularly available for that price, but I'm just going by MSRP for the sake of this review. Another set that I actually had to completely change my camera angle to fit into the frame that is a similar price range to this set is the PlayScale U-Wing here. I wanted to compare it to one PlayScale set and one other MIDI scale set. Now, this thing just absolutely dwarfs this thing. Like, I know they're completely different lines. The MIDI scale is more intended for detail, whereas the PlayScale sets are more intended for playability. But nowadays, like, PlayScale sets are so highly detailed, like, they're close enough, to be honest with you. Now, this set does have a ton of stickers. The MIDI scale set, the MIDI scale Venator, has all printed pieces, which is an upside for that. But just the size you get from this thing, like, it's 1.5, 2 times the size of this. And this set's $10 cheaper, and you get 4 figures with it. So that's just something I really want to point out with this set, is you get sets that are just a lot bigger, come with figures. Pretty much, I can say only good things about them, like I said, in this case, besides the stickers. And they're, in this case, even cheaper, the same price in the case of the Falcon. You can just get a lot better value from other sets, in my opinion. That's the long story short of it. Overall, how do I feel about the MIDI Scale Venator? I would say it is the perfect representation of a Venator in this scale. I know it sounded like I was hating on it a lot in the review, but I do really like this thing. I just think it's like $10 to $20 overpriced. Like, I'll be honest, I love this ship. It is one of my favorite ships in Star Wars. I was going to pick this up day one pretty much no matter what it costs because I love the MIDI scale line. Like I said, I love the Venator. I own the UCS one. And this thing was just a obvious compliment to go with the invisible hand from last year. But I just think for what you get from a pure value standpoint, like I said, if you really like the Venator, go for it. If you don't own the UCS one yet and really want a Venator, go for it. If you only have the space for this, same thing. Like, just go get it. But I think, honestly, if you don't absolutely need this thing, wait for a sale. Wait for it to go 20, 30% off. Like, this thing, if you just kind of like it, is absolutely not worth $80. If you don't already have the MIDI Scale Falcon, get that first. If you don't already have like the invisible hand, if you're still able to find that, like, there's a lot of incredible MIDI scale sets. There's a lot of incredible sets. Like, I showed the U-Wing. I think that set's a much better value than this. But I still really like this thing. Like, I know it sounds like I'm hating on it a lot, but I do genuinely really like it. Overall, what would I give it? If I were to give it a rating with a complete absence of price, like if you were to ask me, grade the build, you hand this to me, I didn't have to pay money for it, grade the build, I'd give this thing like a 9.5 out of 10. Like, I think there are very, very minor critiques you could give to this thing. Mainly has to do with like some studs showing on it and all that. Like, I think it could have been tiled off a little better. I think maybe the bridge could have been a little cleaner in my opinion, but like, this thing is almost as perfect as you can get. Now, factoring in price, I'll give it like a 7 out of 10. I think it's still a decent set for the price. I don't think it's horrible. I don't think it's the worst thing you can get. I think this is a 10 times better value than that $90 BB-8. I think that thing is trash. I didn't buy that thing. I'm not gonna buy that thing. Just looking at it, it's not worth it. But I think this thing is a much better value than that. But there's a lot better value sets out there that you can get than this. So overall, I do think this is a pretty good set. I think it's a great set if you like the Venator. But I think, as with a lot of sets that have come out from LEGO Star Wars recently, the one word to describe this set is overpriced. So thank you guys for watching. Remember to leave a like on the video, comment down below, let me know if you like, I changed the setup a little bit for the reviews. I used a black with white background instead of all white this time. Let me know what you think about that. If you'd rather me do all white or all black, I can do either. And yeah, that's it. Have a great day. Bye.